Have you ever wondered who are you? Not in the shallow sense of a name, a body, or a collection of experiences, but in the deepest possible way. Who is the one that sees? Who is the one that knows? And who is the one that is aware of this very moment? When you look at the sky, who is looking? When you feel joy or sadness, who is it that feels? When you close your eyes and dive into the quiet, who is left there silently witnessing the emptiness? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is it within you that has remained unchanged since your childhood? Your body has aged, your thoughts have evolved, emotions have shifted, but there is something that has been silently watching it all, unchanged, untouched, and pure. What is this witness within you, dear seekers? This is the inquiry we embark upon today. This verse that I am going to share with you is from the text Drik Drishya Viveka, and it is not just a teaching, it is a key to unlock the deepest secrets of your being, which is who is the seer, who is the seen, and can the seer ever be seen? This verse, dear seekers, lays out the most profound exploration of existence, the distinction between the seer and the seen. You see the world, but who sees you seeing it? You are aware of your thoughts, but who is aware of the awareness itself? These questions are not just philosophical riddles. They are portals, they are doorways to a realization so profound that it will shake the very foundation of your identity. Are you ready to step through, dear seekers? Let us sit in the silence of this moment before we embark on this journey inward into the very nature of perception, of being, and of witnessing. The verse that I'm going to share with you today is no ordinary words. It is a map, it is a profound guide for the soul yearning to awaken from the sleep of identification. We will tread slowly, carefully, savoring every step as though each word is a door, a portal that opens us to a new dimension of understanding. The verse, dear seekers, goes like this: Rupam drishyam lochanam drik, tad drishyam driktumanasam, drishya dhivrittayas sakshi, drigeva natu drishyate. It begins with the most apparent, the most basic truth. The form is seen by the eyes. Now, this sounds so simple, doesn't it? You see a flower, you see the vast sky, you see the faces around you, and it feels like a common everyday experience. But the beauty of this verse is that it invites you to go beyond the surface. It invites you to transcend this ordinary seeing, this mere looking. The eyes see the form, but who sees the eyes? Now you start to peel away the layers. The eyes themselves are seen, not by another pair of eyes, but by something more subtle, by the mind, by awareness itself. The mind knows the function of the eyes. It sees when they are open, it sees when they are closed, it perceives their limitations, and it is aware of the experiences that the eyes bring. But don't stop here. We must go further because this inquiry is like descending into the very heart of existence. The mind sees the eyes, but, dear seekers, tell me, who sees the mind? Here is where things become delicate, and this is where so many seekers have become stuck in the trap of identification. The mind is tricky, dear seekers, because it tries to masquerade as the seer. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, and we are so deeply enmeshed in these that we begin to think we are the mind. But the mind too is seen, isn't it? Just as you are aware of the flower outside, you are also aware of the thoughts and emotions that arise within you. The mind is also an object, a drishya, something which is seen. So, who is the seer of the mind? This is the pivotal question, dear seekers. The eyes see the forms, the mind sees the eyes, but what is it that stands behind the mind? Silently witnessing, never moving, never being touched by what passes in front of it. This is where the verse takes you into the heart of Drik and Drishya, the seer and the seen. The drishya is everything that can be observed. It is the world, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations. But the drik, the seer, is the eternal subject. It is consciousness itself. It is the one who observes, the one who is never an object of observation. You are that seer, dear seekers. You are the witness. And this is not just a philosophical idea, this is the ultimate truth of your being. You've always been the witness, but you have forgotten. You have become so identified with the scene, with the drishya, with the objects that you think you are what you observe. You think you are the body. You think you are the mind. But this verse is shaking you. It is waking you up from this deep slumber. At this point, dear seekers, you must understand these five fundamental principles that form the foundation of the seer seen relationship. The seer and the seen are inherently different. Just as your eyes are separate from the forms they observe, and the mind is separate from the eyes, the seer, your true self, is distinct from the objects it observes. There is a space between the observer and the observed, a clear distinction that must be realized. This is where so many of us are trapped. We blur the boundaries between the subject and the object. The seer can never become the seen, and the seen can never become the seer. This is an immutable truth. You cannot become the thoughts you observe, just as the flower cannot become the eyes that see it. Each has its own function, its own role in this cosmic dance. Your consciousness, the seer, remains separate, untouched by the objects it observes. The seer cannot see itself, and the seen cannot see itself. Just as an eye cannot see itself directly, and a knife cannot cut itself, consciousness cannot become an object of its own observation. The seer is always the one doing the observing. It can never become what it observes. One and the same thing cannot become both the seer and the seen. They exist in a duality that cannot be merged. The subject and the object remain distinct in this play of life. If you try to make the seer and the seen one, you will fall into confusion and illusion. It is this very separation that allows you to witness the world without becoming entangled in it. The seer is aware and the seen is inert. Consciousness is the essence of life, dear seekers. It is the force that gives awareness to all that it perceives. The objects of the world, whether they are external forms or internal thoughts, are inert. They are lifeless without the light of awareness shining upon them. It is the seer that illuminates them and brings them to life. Dear seekers, have you ever considered how deeply entangled we are in the web of our own misconceptions? From the moment we are born, we begin to build layers of identity, wrapping ourselves in ideas, beliefs, and the images of who we think we are. We gather names, labels, roles. I'm a mother. I'm a father. I'm a student. I'm a worker. But are we truly any of these things? Because we have taken ourselves to be what we are not, we suffer endlessly. Our attachments to these false identities create a prison made not of walls but of thoughts, conditioning, and illusions. We feel bound by expectations, trapped in the endless cycle of pleasure and pain, success and failure. But none of this is real. These are mere shadows on the wall of the cave, flickering and passing, while the true light remains hidden behind. The greatest tragedy is that we are the creators of our own suffering. No one else imposes this upon us. It is our misunderstanding, it is our deep identification with the impermanent, with the fleeting, the false, that leads us into endless sorrow. We mistake the seen for the seer, we mistake the body for the self, and the mind for consciousness. And in this mistaken identity, we lose ourselves in the dramas of life. We lose ourselves in the turmoil of emotion, forever chasing what will never satisfy us. The purpose of discrimination, dear seekers, the purpose of this sacred inquiry is to free us from these self imposed chains. It is to recognize once and for all our divine conscious nature. When we see the truth of who we are, the witness, the eternal seer, untouched by the world of forms, the suffering vanishes. In the light of this realization, all sorrows dissolve like mist in the morning sun. When the mind becomes still, when the endless chatter of thought fades into silence, what remains is not emptiness, but absolute, unconditioned bliss. This bliss, dear seekers, is not something that we achieve. It is not a result of doing, but of being. It is the very essence of who we are. It has always been there, waiting patiently beneath the layers of misconception, waiting for us to remember. This is the great liberation. Once you know yourself as the seer, the unchanging awareness behind all experience, you are free. You transcend all suffering. Life no longer binds you because you have realized that you are not of this world of change and decay. You are the eternal witness. You are the silent observer. And in that knowing, you find the bliss that is beyond all conditions, which is beyond all understanding. Now, dear seekers, let me tell you a story from the life of Buddha. One day, the Buddha was sitting under a tree with his disciples, and a man came to him, a learned scholar. The scholar, full of pride, asked Buddha, What is the nature of truth? Can you explain the essence of reality? Buddha smiled, as he always did when someone asked such a question, and he said, "Bring me a glass of water." The scholar was puzzled but brought the water as requested. The Buddha took the glass, held it up to the light, and said, "Look at this water. What do you see?" The scholar, eager to show his knowledge, replied, "I see water, simple water." Buddha nodded and then, in his calm voice, asked, "Who is seeing this water?" The scholar, now somewhat confused, said, "I am seeing the water." Buddha smiled again and asked, "And who is the I that is seeing the water?" The scholar was stunned. His mind began to race. He had never questioned who the I was. He had always assumed he knew. But suddenly, standing before the Buddha, he realized that he did not know. There was something behind his seeing, something he had never noticed. He was identified with the object, the water, but he had missed the subject, the seer within him. This is the great revelation. The Buddha, in his infinite compassion, was pointing the scholar to the same truth this verse reveals. The seer can never be seen. It is the essence of awareness, the ultimate subject, and it is beyond all the objects it witnesses. This, dear seekers, is the nature of your own being. Just as the scholar realized in that moment that he was not the body, not the mind, but the witnessing consciousness, you too must come to this recognition. The forms of the world will always change. The flower will fade, the sky will darken, thoughts will arise and disappear like waves in the ocean. But you, the witness, remain. You are the stillness in the midst of all this movement. You are the space in which all these phenomena appear and disappear. This is the most breathtaking truth you can realize. And when you realize it, something miraculous happens. The world does not disappear, dear seekers, but it no longer holds the same weight. The world becomes a Leela, it becomes a divine play. You watch it, you participate in it, but you are never caught by it. You remain untouched, you remain ever free. The seeker dissolves into the seer. The journey ends because there was never any distance between you and the truth. You were always the seer. The only illusion was that you thought you were something seen. Let this realization sink into the very core of your being. You're not the body, not the mind, not the thoughts, and not the emotions. You are pure awareness, the silent witness of it all. And once you know this deeply, not just as an idea, but as a living reality, then everything changes. The whole world may continue as before, but you are no longer bound by it. The seer is free, dear seekers. Always remember this. The seer is eternal, and you are that seer. Let this be your meditation. Let this be your liberation. Just be the witness. Let go of all identification with the objects, with the body, with the mind. Simply watch. Watch the world. Watch your thoughts. But know that you are not what you watch. You are the watcher. You are the eternal witness. And in that witnessing, you are free. You are the seer, the eternal, the untouchable, blissful witness. And in that recognition, life becomes a dance. It becomes a celebration of the infinite.